Ultimately, the marketplace, the investment community, and governments will determine the fate of the industry. Because of the critical role nuclear energy plays in both our power sector and in mitigating climate change, however, we need to be measured, clear, purposeful, and smart about how we look at the industry in the post-Fukushima world.
Nuclear energy power in the next decades will be a must-have capability in the global energy balance. We have the relevant benchmark technologies that can really provide the right safeguards and guarantees, even under the most harsh conditions. We have run a number of scenarios to check and see what happens if our NPP should be hit by the same disaster suffered by Fukushima. Unless we continue to sustain nuclear power engineering capability, we would not be able to have the right balance of energy throughout the world. There have been a number of scenarios discussed, and under the worst case scenario, it happened that the share of nuclear power engineering as forecasted by 2035 should be at least 10 percentage points. 10 percentage points out of the 2035 balance of energy assets is 2.5 times higher than what we have today. But I don't know what kind of sources will be made available to produce energy 4 decades out, but the way towards those new sources of energy will be by way of new capabilities, knowledge, capital, skills and talents we are building today. Why on the back of nuclear power engineering capacities. We cannot evolve unless we really master nuclear power engineering capacities. The meaning of those amendments is that the problem of NPPs is a national problem, and even more, it is a transnational, cross-border problem, meaning that the safeguards and guarantees should be transnational and cross-border in character. So, meaning that I think we should be talking about not recommendatory policies, but binding provisions. I believe that the evolution of nuclear power engineering is in the pipeline already, and it needs to be sustained. We need to create the right conditions for safe evolution of nuclear power energy. This is our objective and this is our goal.
So the whole set of parameters in the energy sector, not only nuclear, but whole parameters of energy field must be reviewed. Otherwise, we cannot describe our future in a sustainable, competitive, and, let's say, secured manner.
The British government on the previous government, and again, it was reinforced with the new government, decided that nuclear should be part of its own energy plan for the future years. The same as Russia, the same as China, the same as Turkey, the same as Vietnam, the same as South Africa. All these countries decided that in the mix, nuclear should be a significant part of it. So the French example, they gave to France, to this country, first of all, security in power generation and efficiency, because France has the lowest price in Europe when it comes to power, due to nuclear output.
Each state, although they have a right to use nuclear power, but they also have to have a responsibility to do it right. And therefore, each government which makes a decision to embark on a nuclear power program needs to recognize its responsibility for long-term commitment to the peaceful, safe and secure use of nuclear technology.
We've taken surveys with the U.S. energy policy community, and there's been virtually no decline in support for nuclear energy. The underlying logic is just as compelling to them now as it was before Fukushima. What we are seeing, though, is the tectonic shift, if you will, is a move towards natural gas. There is a widely held view that it is not a safety constraint or a political constraint that's holding back nuclear at this point, but as Mr. Prolio indicated, it's a much higher priority being assigned to natural gas as an alternative. So it is indeed a possible golden age for gas. So what's happened in the U.S. is really a resonance that nuclear power's got to be part of the energy mix in the future, notwithstanding Italy, notwithstanding Germany.
And today, nuclear safety is the discussion on a high political level after Fukushima. It only emphasized that the need for government to take a very responsible approach, but also a very transparent and committed approach from both the government policy perspective, but also establishing the right infrastructure to support it.
The two conclusions voiced here by my colleagues are as follows. We need to be pragmatic. That was the phrase said by our Finnish colleague. And we need to avoid extremes. That's right. Pragmatic approach, avoiding extremes, that's the right spirit, and these are the things that need to come by. So we have the consensus. There is no good future without nuclear power engineering. We need to review the right role for nuclear power engineering. We need to review the safety standards, the nuclear security standards. The governments should provide for relevant risks coverage. So I'm talking about the risks that might be borne by consumers, because consumers needs to be appropriately covered by insurers against all of the risks, especially the risks emanating from NPPs. So the topic of globalization and international cooperation is most relevant because this is the principal provision for nuclear power engineering to carry on. And this is not only about safety and security. This is also about new strategies employed in order to develop new NPPs through cross-border international projects. In Russia, we are very much interested in really coming up with a full cycle of managing nuclear fuel, especially for fast neutron-based reactors.
I think there is also a very clear urgency and imperative. Alternatives are not available. They are not available at scale. They can't meet the baseload needs that we have globally, and they are clearly not economic to deliver. I think what we need to focus on is ensuring that we don't think that nuclear simply earns its place in the mix of the future by default, but that it positively takes steps to improve its position. And I think that will be very much dependent on learning the lessons which emerge from the Fukushima incident. Collectively as an industry, we need to work on the openness, the transparency and the communication with our very many different stakeholder groups. I think there is more that we can do to build and rebuild the confidence in that respect.
The industry should move in parallel with developing the current reactors towards new technology, towards new reactors, and the target should be really to develop small size fast breeders and integrated fuel cycle. This would provide us several benefits: safety, benefits, reasonable investment costs, and what is most important, endless availability of uranium, and at the same time this could also help to resolve these back-end problems when you develop the fuel cycle for those reactors.
For instance, look at the map of the earlier programs for nuclear energy and compare it with the map, roadmap, shall we say, of what the countries intend to do today. And the maps are a little different from each other. Italy was not developing nuclear energy. It said maybe we would. No, let's not. And the same about Germany. Germany was in two minds. And it's such countries as China, India, France, Russia, the United States, a large bloc of Southeast Asian countries, and none of those has reneged on its commitments to develop nuclear energy. If we're looking 30 years down the road, the changes to be expected regarding technology, particularly in safety and waste and non-proliferation, because of the changeover to natural uranium.
Growing populations around the world are going to depend on more access to energy. Demand is going to rise by 65% for energy by the year 2035, and meeting that challenge is going to require a diverse energy portfolio. So I think we need some type of implementation of global standards that are embraced by all operators. This is going to be an important debate in the future.